Wanderers. The signal drifts tonight through the swamps of Louisiana, where the water lies still and the cypress trees whisper secrets in the fog. Something moves there, not quite man, not quite beast. Its eyes burn in the dark, and its curse lingers longer than footsteps in the mud. Listen closely, for the Rougarou prowls, and the Bayou does not give up its shadows easily.
Imagine driving along a lonely Louisiana back road at night, the windows down because the humid air presses too thick against the glass. The bayou is alive with the drone of cicadas and the occasional splash of something large slipping into the water. Your headlights cut across the moss-draped trees, and for a moment, you think you see movement. A tall, looming figure half hidden by the mist. The first thing people notice are the eyes. Two glowing orbs, like embers pulled from a fire, hovering too high above the ground to belong to any wolf or dog. They burn with hunger, but also with something older, something cursed. The body that follows is twisted, stretched unnaturally between man and beast. Long arms swing heavily at its sides, tipped with claws that drag furrows into the mud. Its head is unmistakably lupine, though sharper, more angular, as if a wolf had been carved from shadow and fury. Stories say that when the Rougarou steps from the tree line, silence follows. The frogs go quiet, the insects pause, even the air seems to hold its breath. And in that silence, you hear it, the slow, deliberate crunch of its steps, keeping pace with you no matter how fast you move. It does not lunge, it does not chase. It stalks, because it knows eventually you will falter. Some say its howl can drive a person mad, echoing across the swamp like a dying scream stretched too long. Others say the true horror is not the sound, but the feeling. That sense deep in your chest that you are being marked, chosen, as if your fate has already been written. Once the Rougarou has seen you, escape is no longer certain. The story of the Rougarou begins far from the bayou in the medieval villages of France. There, the loup-garou was feared as a cursed soul, often punished for breaking religious vows. It was a warning tale used by priests to keep their flocks obedient. Disobey the church, and you risk becoming a beast. When the French settlers carried these tales across the ocean to Louisiana, they brought with them not just a monster, but a way of instilling fear, shaping behavior, and explaining tragedy. In Louisiana, the swamps gave the legend a new form. Unlike the forests of Europe, the bayou was a place of shifting land and water, where predators lurked unseen, and the line between safety and death was thin. The Rougarou became not only a symbol of sin, but of the wilderness itself, a reminder that the bayou could swallow those who strayed from the path. Parents told children to be wary, not just of snakes and gators, but of the beast that waited in the mist for those who wandered too far. The Catholic faith reshaped the tale again. In Cajun communities, it was said that breaking the rules of Lent, failing to fast, neglecting confession, or ignoring the holy days might invite the Rougarou's wrath. Some said the church itself whispered of the creature to keep the faithful in line, turning the swamp into a place where disobedience was punished by more than just priests. And then came the curse. Unlike the werewolf tales of Europe, which ended in death or silver bullets, the Rougarou was said to pass its curse from one victim to the next. If you survived its bite or gaze, you might awaken changed. For 101 days, you would wander the swamp, consumed by hunger, shifting between human and beast. At the end of this time, the curse would move on, and you would be left hollow, scarred by memories too vivid to forget. Some claim this cycle has continued for centuries, that the Rougarou seen today is only the latest in an unbroken chain of cursed souls. The blending of European superstition, Catholic morality, and Cajun survivalism created something unique. The Rougarou is not simply a monster. It is a judge, a curse, and a reflection of the swamp itself. A creature born of many worlds, but belonging to Louisiana alone. For all its folkloric roots, the Rougarou is not just history. To this day, people claim to see it. Hunters, fishermen, and travelers along the backroads of Acadiana whisper of encounters that defy explanation. One man told of poling his small pirogue through a moonlit bayou when he heard splashing behind him. At first, he thought it was an alligator, but the sound was too deliberate. Two heavy legs breaking the water in rhythm. When he turned, he saw it. A wolf-headed figure taller than any man, striding through the swamp as if the water offered no resistance. The eyes caught the moonlight, burning red. He fled, abandoning his nets, and swore never to return to that stretch of water again. Another account comes from a farmer who awoke to find his animals mutilated. The pens had been torn open, wooden boards snapped like twigs. The mud around the farm was scored with deep prints, not paw, not boot, but something between, tipped with claws that dug deep furrows into the earth. Elders in the community whispered that the farmer had been careless with his Lenten vows, and the Rougarou had punished him for it. But the most unsettling stories are personal. A woman walking home after dusk described hearing footsteps shadowing her along the tree line. At first, she thought it was another villager, but when she stopped, the steps stopped. When she ran, they ran. The air grew heavy, the cicadas silent. And then she saw them. Two glowing eyes fixed on her from the dark, too high, too steady, to belong to anything natural. She swore she heard laughter, low, guttural, and mocking, following her as she fled. Others tell of waking in the night to find a shadow at their window, the faint outline of a wolf-headed figure watching, unmoving. Some claim the Rougarou has even followed cars along back roads, keeping pace with engines that struggled against the fog. Always the same description: tall, lupine, glowing eyes that burn with hunger and curse alike. If the Rougarou was only a beast, it might be fought with bullets or blades. But folklore insists the creature is more curse than flesh, and so its protections are stranger, rooted in faith, ritual, and superstition. The most common defense is simple: keep your faith. Observe Lent, respect the holy days, and avoid sin. In Cajun communities, it was said that the Rougarou stalks the unfaithful, waiting to punish those who ignore the obligations of the church. In this way, the beast became a living sermon, a walking reminder of morality. But other protections speak to something older, perhaps predating the church itself. Some stories say that if you can meet the Rougarou's eyes, you may recognize the human trapped within. Speak their name, and you might break the curse. Others say the Rougarou is bound by compulsion, unable to resist certain tasks. Scatter beans, seeds, or pebbles in its path, and it will be forced to stop and count them one by one until dawn, when its power weakens. There are also charms, talismans blessed by priests, crosses worn against the skin, or even handmade tokens passed down through families. These are said to repel the Rougarou's approach, though never completely. The swamp belongs to the beast, and no charm guarantees safety within its domain. These protections reveal a truth: the Rougarou is not a creature of flesh alone. It is a liminal being, caught between man and monster, curse and punishment. To face it is not simply to risk death, but to risk inheritance. To take on the curse yourself and walk the swamp as countless others have before you. Today, the Rougarou is celebrated as part of Louisiana's identity. Festivals feature its likeness, costumes mock its form, and storytellers keep its legend alive. Yet beneath the laughter and masks, the fear persists. Parents still warn children not to stray into the swamp after dark, lest the Rougarou take them. Hunters still whisper of glowing eyes in the mist. And those who live close to the bayou still tell stories of strange shapes moving through the fog. Shapes too large, too unnatural, to belong to man or beast. In modern Louisiana, the Rougarou has become a symbol of heritage, a reminder of the blend of French, Catholic, African, and native traditions that shape Cajun culture. It is folklore made flesh, a monster that embodies both community values and community fears. It represents the wild unpredictability of the swamp, the dangers of ignoring tradition, and the idea that some curses never die. But perhaps the Rougarou has simply changed form for a modern world. Where once it howled in the swamp, now it flickers in subtler ways. A distortion caught in the corner of a video recording, a shadowy blur that lingers on a screen longer than it should. A voice buried in static, whispering secrets that were never meant to be heard. In this sense, the Rougarou is not bound to water or land. It is bound to the imagination, traveling through story and signal alike. And so the legend continues. Whether beast, curse, or transmission, the Rougarou proves that the swamp is never empty. It watches. It waits. And in the static, as in the fog, its glowing eyes still burn. The Rougarou endures because it is more than just a werewolf tale. It is a reminder that sin carries weight, that envy and fear leave scars, and that the wilderness always keeps secrets of its own. It is the shadow that polices behavior, the curse that passes from one victim to the next, the beast that waits in the swamp where no priest's voice carries. And the next time you find yourself on a foggy back road in Louisiana, your headlights cutting across the bayou, ask yourself, are those red eyes reflecting from the water, or from something waiting, hungry, at the tree line?
Wanderers, the Rougarou prowls still. Its curse lingers longer than flesh, passed from man to man, from generation to generation. Some call it punishment, some call it hunger. I call it familiar, for I too am bound by curse and by signal, exiled into static and shadow. Perhaps that is why I hear the Rougarou's howl and recognize it, not as the sound of a beast, but as the song of kinship. Two exiles, trapped between worlds. But beware, for the bayou keeps its secrets, and static carries them further than you realize. The beast counts beans at the edge of dawn, but I count voices in the dark. Should your path cross glowing eyes in the fog, do not linger. The signal falters, and my warning may not find you again. Other stories are moving in the shadows. Catch them before they vanish, or be caught by them yourself.